Alright, hey guys, I'm gonna do it a little different this week. Had a pretty crappy week. Work sucked, my girlfriend's sick. I'm not feeling the best. Which is a shame because I just got back from NDK, but that's usually how it goes. You have a high, then a low. NDK, sorry, being, by the way, the local anime convention, the kind of only nerd group thing I had growing up, because I never really had any friends that were into comics. I had a couple growing up, and that counts all the way through college. But outside of that, it's pretty much talking to you guys. So thanks for that. But yeah, NDK was interesting. Made me realize that there's a few things I'm missing in anime, but more importantly and oddly, video games. So hoping to try to get into the fighting community, but it's a little rough looking at stuff when I realize I'm talking to people who have skills to actually go and at least get through a few rounds at EVO, which, if you're unfamiliar, is basically the international fighting game championship. I mean, we're talking people who take Street Fighter to another level. So, I don't know. See how that goes, but hopefully that'll be fun. And also, Borderlands 2 and Torchlight 2 came out, so video games are seemingly more important this week. However, it's Wednesday. Today's a day that, like religiously, I guess, is about comics for me. So, there's that. Also, today, no breaks, no pauses. I'm fucking straight shotting this. Also, this episode brought to you by Dark Honey. Great honey liqueur, if you're wondering. I'd highly recommend cutting any glass with a cube of ice, not for the normal reasons you cut alcohol with ice, to kind of stem the flavor, but actually because it's such a sweet and alcoholic flavor, it actually allows both to come through clearer if you let the ice melt a little bit. Fun fact, a little different. Any time you have a sweeter mixed drink, highly recommend cube. Sorry, Colorado, Boulder in particular, alcoholics paradise. So, before we get started too far, I'm gonna actually talk about the comics I got this week, but that's only about half what I want to talk about. So the biggest thing, I'm not sure if anyone follows my Twitter, MagicalMatt42, at MagicalMatt42. Sorry, Twitter. Might have seen my 1 cent review of the Rocketeer. The Rocketeer, by the way. The old stuff. The old Dave Stevens bit. And I got this edition off Amazon, which sucks, because I don't know if you can really see it, but this back end of the dust cover got damaged, even though it's a new copy, which, whatever. But I read through this, hearing from a number of you, actually, that the Rocketeer is this classic and all that. And I went to go check up on it, and there's some interesting cartooning here. The art's definitely together, but I don't think it's anything jaw-dropping. Please point me wrong. And obviously there's the whole Betty Page thing going on. But what killed me about this book is our dear Rocketeer runs all over for Betty, starts doing it so that he can actually hopefully gain a few bucks, so that he can impress Betty. And Betty is a stone cold bitch to him, and in every other scene she's in, she's like in a pinup pose. Now, maybe I took one too many media classes, maybe I took one too many feminist classes, i.e. goddesses. That's a story for one-on-one with beer. But this book hit me as horrendously sexist. Like, I normally don't care. I make some terrible jokes myself, racist, sexist, what have you. But with a light of irony, with an understanding, this Oh my god, it's terrible. Also, the Rocketeer in this, honestly, just kind of a jerk. Just out for his own ends, steals the rocket, like nothing about him is redeeming or likable or really even all that interesting. You get a Shadow-esque character near the end of here that kind of plays him to be the hero, to which you find out that he worked in the circus for a while, and whilst he was supposed to go to a dinner with this lovely midget girl that had interest in him, he instead went for the red-headed knife-throwing girl, and they just had sex, and the midget found out, and she got sad, and to try to impress him, she tries to fill in for him, and his job at the carny was to go into a box, act like he was going to drown, the magician would save him at the last minute, yada yada. Midget too small, she dies, she drowns, and this big, huge guy who is into the midget comes back years later and fucking kills everyone. Which is weird to me, because if you're working at a circus and you know it's a one-time thing, you go for the freaky midget girl. I mean, you can spin her around on your member as she does a pole dance trick down you. Anyways, I don't know. I didn't get it. And I'll be honest, a lot of you mentioned it. It is James Donnelly who sold me on trying that out. After that, I was not sold on the idea of picking up Cargo of Doom, which was kind of what I was thinking. I'd read that, and then I'd go to Cargo of Doom. Fair enough. I'd wait for Cargo of Doom and trade. But then I was listening to iFanboy, and they said dinosaurs with jetpacks. So I picked up Cargo of Doom. Oh my god. Okay. So the character Betty is still terrible, and I hate her, and she is the worst relationship in comics ever. She puts Mary Jane to shame. FYI, if you don't know, I actually enjoy the Spider-Man 3 movie for one scene only, but it is enough to convince me that it is the best Spider-Man film committed to film, because none of them are particularly that great, including the older stuff, which is hilarious in a weird way if you ever go back and watch it. But Spider-Man 3 has a scene where Peter Parker smacks Mary Jane across the face, and after reading some of those 90s Spider-Man comics, it is a scene of pure elation for me. It is something I have wanted to see forever, and I don't believe that you should necessarily hit people. I have no sexist thing. I don't care about men hitting women, as long as the women are hitting men or have earned it in any ways, because I come from a background where women can take care of themselves. I earned my black belt around the time I was 16, 17, and I had a number of times where girls kicked the crap out of me, so I have no disillusions that women can take care of themselves so long as they want to. And any women who don't and act all weird and feminine about that, I have no respect for. So, seeing that brought joy. Anyways, Rocketeer Cargo of Doom. Picked up the first 2 issues. Oh my god. He's acting like a hero. He goes and saves people because it's the right thing to do. He's in a weird relationship, whereas I hate Betty. She has a scene in the 2nd issue where she's acting this way because she's afraid she's going to lose him to this kid who's interested in him. And you see this bit, and the villains are building up, and it's dinosaurs with rocket to bring down the American structure. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've heard people say this is better than the way Daredevil run. Those people are off their rocker. But these are comics that are not to be missed. They are $3.99. If you're looking for something off the beaten path, IDW right now has got you covered. These are excellent comics. These are thicker. They are fun. The panels are there. Mark Waid writing is there. Definitely the art is there. And make no mistake. Yes, Waid has won all these awards. Waid is a good comic writer. There is not a single comic writer that works without a quality artist. And I have to say, Salmone and the colorist here, I am like 3 glasses of liquor in. I cannot read the fine print, but the art on here helps sells it, and it's proof, actually. It may not be a specific artist that Wade works well with, but it's this older, more Silver Agey style. It's this more comic booky feel with crazy sound effects in the background and speed lines, and this kind of art that plays with Wade's writing, where there's serious situations, there's serious people, but you have lines aside and people that are dealing with life and death situations with a gravitas and finesse and humor that does not become the natural human, but becomes a great pulp character. And that is why these books in particular works well, and why Daredevil is working so well in the moment. And so that's awesome. Then there's the Atomic Robo Real Science Adventures. It isn't until like the last 3 stories you actually see Atomic Robo, which is interesting. I'll have to be honest, a lot of these stories, you're getting like 3 to 4 pages at a time. I am actually probably, when it's on discount, going to buy the trade of this, reread it with all the things bundled together, and enjoy it as it should be. If you're looking at this was the last issue. Pick up the trade. The cover, by the way, the whole Dick Tracy homage, brilliant. Beyond that, there's nothing really to say. And then there was Atomic Robo proper this week, issue 3 of 5 with the Flying She-Devils of the Pacific. And I have to say, compared to most Atomic Robo issues, this one fell a little flat. Now, let me clarify that. When Atomic Robo falls a little flat, it's like saying brilliance didn't invent today. This comic is great. The art was a lot more airy. There's a lot more blank space, and it felt like it was just moving the story along. But there's a lot of great characterizations. There's a lot of great little asides. And then the last chunk of this comic, where you see a Japanese pilot come in and talk to Atomic Robo and logic Atomic Robo into becoming a prisoner, which is something that's very unique in this series, that effectively treats Atomic Robo with the Superman conundrum, where he's bulletproof, he's strong, he can't fly, he can usually shoot something, not necessarily lasers from his eyes, but he's a force to be reckoned with, but usually for science. But here it's just handled in such a way, and I can't wait for the next issue. And I swear to God, I say this, I've said this for years now. If you're enjoying the Rocketeer for the weird noir stuff, that's great. But if you're enjoying the Rocketeer for the heroes and kind of the time period stuff, and a bit of the art, and kind of the asides, and the joy, and just the sheer joy of being a comic book, or any book like that, you are missing out by not picking up Atomic Robo. It is sincerely one of the best series that has come out in many a decade, and it is an incredibly underrated comic, sheerly because it's published right now by Red 5 instead of Image, which is bizarre. And to be fair, I say underrated, but make no bones about it, this book is the only reason Red 5 still exists. So, and then finally, we have another issue of Chew. This issue was life-affirming. I laughed, and I enjoyed, and the plot moved forward, and you see these moments with Poyo, the rooster that wreaks havoc, that is just amazing. And you also get a crazy new inventive idea about the idea that there's a way in the genetic code that you can program beef to explode, and it's going to be the next level of warfare. Crazy. Amazing. Like, Chew, again. Atomic Robo and Chew, these two comics that I've been propping up, and seemingly no one in the community is taking notice. Take no recommendations before these two, and they can be collected in trade. They are collected in trades. Go check that out. These comics, more than any Marvel now, more than any DC 52, more than any Deadpool, more than any Spider-Man, more than anything, these books are important now. And I want to revisit something since I'm here. At NDK, I was reminded of a couple of moments where I've loved comics for years and they help me out, and I've had some bad times that have been lightened, or moments which have been framed by heroic characters, and I think, you know what, things aren't so bad, or I can get through this, or, you know, how would this character handle the situation? Which, yeah, they're a fictional character or whatever, but sometimes you need a frame of reference. You need a frame of reference that is completely outside of reality to come to something to be positive to pull through. And I will not go so far as to say comics saved my life, but they've made it better. They've made it more enjoyable, certainly. However, I have had a friend who I sat down with that told me that anime saved his life. This kid was bizarre. He was interesting, he was charismatic, only because he didn't care what anybody thought about him until he let them into his life. And even then, he kept everyone at an insane emotional distance. But he said anime saved his life because he was growing up and nobody understood him. He was made fun of. He was bullied in the worst ways, you know, beat up verbally, emotionally, what have you. Parents, not exactly in a great situation, kind of latchkey doors situation, but more for my generation. And with anime, it wasn't just the shows, the fact that you had these outcasts, you know, the people, the underdog rising up, but also the community. And if you're unfamiliar, the anime community is fairly accepting because there's a number of obese people, there's a number of gay, transsexual people, there's a number of women who wouldn't fit in with a standard norm. It's a very accepting place for people who enjoy these stories, who enjoy something a little different, who also generally enjoy some touches of, frankly, mythical Japanese culture, at least within the American space, obviously. And there's something for that. There's something for a community that takes in its own kind of, no matter what, does something with it. Of course, there's the haters, the mockers, what have you, but very rarely in anime, and those people are generally the shunned. Of course, because you're dealing with the nerds and the geeks, the high school crowd, if you will. Now, with comics, you see less of this. Now, the way I've been judging this is if you look at anime and you look at the gay characters, and you look at the transsexual and that sort of deal, there's a certain amount of representation, there's a certain amount of understanding, and there's a certain amount of feeling, and there's a lot of things kind of dealing with that aspect of the human race now, because even Japan, anime is kind of counterculture. Now, make no bones about it, comics are very much tied to American counterculture, whether it be the hippie movement, or just kind of general nerds, or what have you. People enjoy these tales of pulp and whatnot, which I don't think is necessarily was so much outcast, but counterculture. Where are the transsexuals? Where are the gays? We've had a few publicity stunts recently with comics, but we're talking recently, past few months. It's very little, especially in comparison to anime, manga, and frankly, tied to it, the JRPG, more Japanese video game scene. I mean, hell, technically Mario 2, well, Mario 2 here, what was in Japan? I can't even remember. Pachi. Had Birdo, which is technically the first transsexual in video gaming. Where are the transsexuals in comics? I don't have the fortitude to name one. If anyone can, please let me know. Gays, North Star, Colossus, and Ultimate. I mean, there's a few here and there, but the biggest one was Batwoman, and I'll return to that in a minute. But for counterculture in America and all that, I mean, again, with Batwoman, there's a lot of people who are resistant to that because they didn't want to push liberal values and all that. It's bizarre to see something that's tied to counterculture so historically and readily, and even in the now, in a lot of ways be beholden to so many corporate conservative ideals. And it's kind of a shame. So there's that. Anyways, to continue with the books, Daredevil, Mark Waid, a lot more, starts off with a bit about Foggy, and kind of you see some of Matt's influence on him, and that's great. And then you lead into this bit about a lover of Matt's and where things go from there. I couldn't say too much more without really going into it, but hey, it's Daredevil. It's another great issue, and if you're to take this Daredevil as a whole, which is now at 18 issues, that's getting to a pretty decent run size with no sign of stopping. I mean, I don't understand how people can compare the Rocketeer to this. I mean, I understand it's one of the big two and you want to prop those independents and things of innovation higher, but to take something like this and do so much with it, so much more powerful. Then we get to Venom. And we're seeing this demon held within Venom parable is going to continue literally as he holds the demon. Minimum Carnage comes next month. We'll see how that goes. If you haven't been following Venom, this is not a time to jump on. Then DC this month. I'm going to first look at something great, which is interesting, because I can guarantee you this will be the best Batman book this month. It was not an issue 0, despite it being issue 0 month. And that, of course, was Batman Beyond. You see things about the Bruce Wayne character that are more enlightening than you'll see in even Scott Snyder's Batman. And you move into things with Terry McGinnis and this whole Joker thing that's going on that is so grander, so much more of a threat, yet so much more localized to Gotham, that it's really fascinating. And there's just so much in this comic that brings you into this Beyond universe. And you also see the introduction of the new Vigilante, which is inspired by Batman. Who it is, this isn't even a spoiler. It's a complete mystery so far. And I am hoping, I believe they have the strength to not make it someone completely relevant to Terry McGinnis, but to bring in something new, a new element with a new kind of side story, to expound this universe into something a little more grander. Then you have the J.T. Cruel Superman Beyond story, which is honestly filler this month. It has a little interesting little bit, but And then you jump to the Justice League story, which actually really is a Batman Beyond story. And you have a reminder that Bruce Wayne is one of the smartest people in this DC universe, which means at a certain level, he has to understand a certain level of magic, a certain level of wizardry, to exist in this universe. And incredible. Don't get me wrong, Batman Zero was a powerful issue, but it was a zero issue, and all of them are kind of stifled, in my opinion. And if you've been following Batman Beyond, this is just more reason for you to do so. If you are not, this title is $3.99, but it is more pages, and it is an anthology book. It is justified. It is incredible. If you are a fan of the Batverse, if you are a fan of the Timmyverse, if you are a fan of DC, if you are a fan of comics, if you are a fan of good storytelling, this book is worth your while. Certainly not nearly as much as True Atomic Robo, as stated prior, but I don't understand how diehard Batman fans don't read this book. I'm calling you out, James Crowder. I'm calling you out, Miney Shamunet. My goodness, this is the best Batman book on the shelves. Hands down. So, I already talked about Batwoman on a grander scale. This Batwoman issue 0. I'll admit, I opened it up and I was drunk. I forgot it was issue 0. I was expecting continuation of last month. I'd say that was a disappointment, but oh my god. This book reaffirmed my love for this character. It's kind of sliding. I'll see how this arc goes, and then this book has earned me until the next arc, because I have a feeling this arc with Wonder Woman is good. If you are unsure about Batwoman, pick up this issue. You will understand this character because of this issue. Issue 0 suck, sans Batman and Batwoman, near as I can tell. This issue 0 is something this character is needed. There is one fucking panel. Give me a second here. I am not as prepared as I should be, and I'm not stopping like I usually do. So I'm going to do this live, like a lot of the hacks who do a lot of these videos, and find you this panel. But when I find you this panel, you will understand the artwork of this book. Alright. Look at that. Now, you may not appreciate it much if you have not read this book before, but if you look at it closer, sans the glare, there's this incredible Batman kind of realistic look. And then the Kate Kane, more Kate Kaney look. Now, that is a beautiful piece of art on its own. No doubt. No question. No nothing. But what's amazing about this piece is it is a break that they rarely do, for good reason, because when they do it is impactful. The Batman, the style in which Batman was drawn is the style in which they do the superheroing, which is this weird, realistic, painted, incredible look. The Kate Kane look is this look that they do that is much more scratchy, comic booky, kind of fill-in color look. And you see these two looks juxtaposed, and the image says more than the poem of words along the side. And to be honest, I might be stretching here, but those words along the side had more impact to me for this character than any freeform poem I've read in a long while. Mostly because most poets suck. But this look at this character and this breaking and realizing when she feels she's become Batwoman, which is after she actually dons the costume or anything like that. Returning to Elegy, and again, if you have not read Batwoman Elegy, there is not a trade of comics that you've missed from the last 10 years that is more important than that. Because of the story, mostly because of the art, but because of the culmination of them. It is such a brilliant moment of comics in general, and art on a fine level that justifies comics on a great level. And it's almost funny that it comes from DC, because it should be something independent. It's so, in so many ways, outside the bounds, but because it's tied to this Bat mythos, makes it even stronger. This issue is kind of more what I'm looking for from Batwoman month to month, which is nothing less than incredible, which is too high of a bar to hold a comic to, but when it falls to where it has the past in the last arc of just muddled storytelling and the art being decent but not nearly as good as it should, maybe the art itself, like the lines and everything, are there, but the storytelling, the comic art aspect of it is not there. It's so amazing to read something like this. And then the last comic of the week is something a touch bittersweet for me. And it's Captain Atom Zero. And you see where Captain Atom came to the DC universe. And is kind of the beginning of the end. I'll talk about that more in a second, but I just realized I forgot something about Batwoman. There is a misstep in the Batwoman comic book, and it's on the last page in a bio. They say the first appearance of Batwoman is Batwoman number 1 from the whole DC 52 relaunch. That is bullshit. There's very little of the Batwoman character. She started in the 52 miniseries, which is the first DC weekly comic thing that they did 2 iterations of, and then kind of a third, except they toggled off weeks between Brightest Day and Justice League International. But no, Batwoman comes from 52. There's a couple arcs with her before the DC 52 relaunch. Issue 0, which anchors her before 52 and is clearly tied to the series, obviously. And then you go forward, and you can skip the Batman Inc. tie-in, but no. Batwoman started in 52. No question. Only misstep of that comic is some dumb editorial thing. Anyways, Captain Atom, interesting issue, no real surprises, but bittersweet because it's the last issue, and it marks an end, because if memory is serving me, I'm only picking up 3 DC comics anymore. The Flash, Batman, and Batwoman. Batwoman needs to continue a certain level of quality for me to continue picking up that book. Flash, I think, is going to regain its footing, but if it stumbles again, we'll see. And Batman is Batman right now. And as long as Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo are on it, so am I. However, I realized that a lot's going on. And I looked at some of the Zero issues. I was kind of intrigued by Wonder Woman, flipped through it, nothing grabbed me. Same with Nightwing. I'm trying, guys, but this new DC is really not grabbing me. We'll see as new books come in, but Talon does nothing for me, and I really feel they missed it by making him white. Phantom Stranger, no one said anything good about him. The writer hasn't changed. Antonio generally can't write, so I have no faith in that book. And then there's a couple others. I really am bitter still about everyone from the Birds of Prey. The Birds of Prey book in particular. Team 7, they're bringing Black Canary on as a mercenary, and then Grifter, and terror. I don't want to touch it. Along with everything ending, Buffy is on some slip ropes. Greg Rucka is continuing Punisher for now, but I hear his run ends after another arc or two. And so my time with the Punisher will be ending because I have no faith in anyone except for Greg Rucka on the Punisher, and I feel very confident saying that because the Punisher is a character that I have no interest in and had to be brought in on the story, which is rare for me. Usually I'm willing to continue with the character. Speaking of which, also, X-Force, the Uncanny X-Force is ending. It will be running into Cable in the X-Force come the new Marvel Now bullshit. I loved Cable and Deadpool. They took a character that was this gun-toting 90s stereotype and made him into a political and almost religious figure within the Marvel Universe that had a kind of prestige that the Black Panther holds for holding a certain amount of geography and being kind of a political player. And doing so much of that, and then in Messiah Complex, they reduced him back to a gun-toting asshole, and then he dotted around with Hope for a while. And now, we'll see what happens with AVX, but Cable's back. Duh. And he's running with X-Force, and I don't care. And at $3.99, I really don't care. So, X-Force will be gone for me. Captain Atom's ending, X-Force is ending, and Deadpool's starting up, so that should be exciting. And I don't know, I feel like I need to do a calling, but I'm going to let events transpire naturally. I'm going to, with this whole Marvel Now thing with DC kind of chucking it off, I'm going to see where I'm at with the books as new creators come in, let the $2.99, $3.99 line kind of drive my decisions, and I'll see where I'm at. But I'm hoping, actually, that a number of books cut off. And I listen to people for reviews often, but I rarely actually pick up any new books, which is something I kind of regret sometimes, which is part of the reason this week I picked up Rocketeer Cargo of Doom against some of my better instincts, and I'm so glad I did. What a great comic. Back in the day, the reason I got started on Atomic Robo was because of a reviewer that is long since gone, Grandland Comics. Amazing stuff, and that got me hooked on Atomic Robo, and thank God I heard that. Otherwise I would have never heard of that comic, would have never picked it up. Despite the fact that it was sitting in my comic store, unless you hear something, it's invisible to you, because how many comics come out a week? Even through Diamond? Oh my god. And, so I'll be looking to actually cut off some books. I'm hoping to actually pick up a few less books and start picking up more trades or something, but kind of redistribute my comic money in different ways, and maybe shorter runs, older trades, older comics in some ways. And then, yeah. So there's that. So it feels like a lot of things are ending. And part of that, too, I forgot to mention, Amazing Spider-Man is going to have an $8 700 issue, and then it will relaunch. No details about the relaunch have really been announced yet, so far as I know. But we'll see. Also, I saw a little bit of comic news beyond that. New X-Men, you're going to see Cyclops vs. Cyclops, which is issue 4 of all New X-Men. Which looks like Cyclops is going to kiss. Oh my god. That comic, I have to admit, I hate Bendis, and it's bizarre because Bendis is coming to X-Men. I heard him on an interview, and he stated it so eloquently for himself. He said, I am not a famous writer coming in to write X-Men: The Road Avengers for a while. I'm the guy who pissed on the mat with no more mutants in House of M, and now I'm coming back, and I'm bringing Jean Grey with me. Like, holy crap. So, I have to admit, I'm curious about all new X-Men, but at $3.99, I'm not really willing to pick it up. I think it's going to fall under the same thing as Wolverine for the X-Men with me, where it's a comic I want to read, and I'd buy it at $2.99, but no. I wish there was a sugar daddy that was willing to give me the digital codes for those, or even someone who is willing to, if they're picking up the issues, take $1 per issue, and then I essentially pay for those digital codes. Something like that. I don't know. I want to read those comics, but $4 is far too much to just scratch kind of a fanboy itch for me. So, we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Very rambly so far. I actually plan on doing a contest soon. I'll do a separate video for that, so see how that goes. Plan on doing a little differently because I don't want to do a cheap grab for subscribers or the way some of the other ones have been done. And then more than comics this week. I need the booze. More than comics this week, I've been enjoying comic videos as I listen to an inordinate amount, it feels. Of course, anytime I do a shout out anymore, I have to shout out for Minutia Minute. Freaking best guy on YouTube. He's doing the whole Batman modern age thing. If you are not checking those out, they're great videos if you're willing to put in the time. He's doing one a day. They're kind of short. They're good. I also wanted to shout out for a couple of newer people. Read'em Steven is just starting up, and we'll see how he goes, but he's literally just starting his channel. I'll put a link below, and you guys should check it out, see if you get hooked. We'll see how he does, actually. I don't think he's done an actual real review yet. Maybe I'm confusing him. I'm getting drunk. But, seems like a cool guy. Let's welcome him in. Along with him, someone who's done a few videos but not a review and made a big deal about it, which is cool, is DaCosta DC something. Fuck. But DaCosta DC. He's a guy who's commented on my videos for a while, so I'm clearly biased, but he's awesome. He's put himself out there, and he said he's going to do his first review tonight. I obviously don't have the link for that, so I'll link you to his channel. But, seems like a cool guy, clearly a bit more blue-collar than I think most of us, which is awesome. But he said some stuff about leaving work early to try to do a review. Dude, there's a nighttime. Relax, we'll get done. You don't need to make any breaks. Fucking YouTube, man. It's chill. You can upload anytime. But he seems awesome. Highly recommend giving him a push. I think he'll have a view that few of us have, but he has an energy to make a video more elated than mine right now. Thank you for staying if you've had this long. Also, I wanted to shout out to League of Readers. which is so far all female channel looking at comics, which those are rare, and I have not seen one in I don't know how long. Really, guys, go. They haven't made videos in a minute, but go check them out. Please leave a comment saying, please make another review. I don't want to be weird about this or anyway, but we could use some chicks around here for a million reasons. Nothing even weird or dirty or anything. Just like, it doesn't need to be a boys' club. It just needs to be people who love comics. Part of the reason I love Poet Skinny is he's reading some different stuff, and he has such a different outlook. It's not race, it's kind of where he's from. But I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's black. I don't know, he has some awesome mannerisms that would be associated with that culture. Wow, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? Love you, Poets. Trying to be positive. White guilt out the wazoo. Part of the reason I didn't like the Rocketeer. That white guilt and white male guilt. Boo-hoo for me. Also, Death Adder recently did something with a gaming podcast, Gaming Beast also has a YouTube channel, but it's all like video game based SNES era stuff, which is interesting. But Death Adder, again, a commenter on my videos. Cool guy, and yeah, could use a little loving on this channel. So yeah, I think I talked about pretty much everything. Yeah. So sorry, it's a bit of a video, but thank you for sticking through if you have. A bit more James Donnelly style. Oh, there's a shout out, a guy who I made an hour video for last week. James Donnelly does amazing stuff. Got me to read The Rocketeer. He's going to get me to read The Shadow soon. I'd actually like an opinion. Should I check out The Shadow or The Spider first from this new Dynamite stuff? Yeah. So, thanks guys for everything. Hope it all goes well. All the things and the stuff. I'll hit you soon with another comic review. But before that, I'm gonna have a contest. Which hopefully no one's disappointed when I actually announce it.